How you like that?
That's
Beautiful.
great.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll roll to the next slide and then let everybody see that, and then
Another
we take it down, and Chris, you're on.
Shared or
And
more
Cara,
than
you stay muted until Chris introduces you.
uh,
You don't have to mute, just stay quiet, I mean.
okay.
Okay. All right, we got 51 people in the waiting room. All right, Rob, you want to let them in? Here we go.
Tony.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. Welcome back to the Flying by the Seat of Our Pants Bird Festival from the Morro Bay Winter Bird Festival. I hope a lot of you have been with us for the last couple days. This is our last day, and boy, have we had some amazing presenters. Somebody just built an entire owl box right in front of our eyes in 20 minutes. We've seen John Muir Laws doing some sketching right in front of our eyes. We've heard and seen hawks and birds, and we've learned about butterflies and science. Oh my stars, it's been wonderful. So this morning we're going to hear from Cara Hagerdorn and something interesting that she's got to present, and she's going to have a special guest speaker or a guest. She's going to have a special guest, and that will be fun to see that. Before we get started, we always have a couple of quick announcements. And one of those is all of these programs are being recorded and they will be up on our website soon. Hey, Bob, do you have any updates on what's happening with the recordings and the presentations and where the heck we can find those things?
I do, Chris. Thank you for asking. We have been recording all of our events, and we have posted those to our website. That is all the events that were on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I think one event from yesterday is in the process of going up. And if you would like to access those, you can go to our website and find a link to that. But I have just posted in the chat a link that will take you directly to the page where you can view all these special presentations from the Morro Bay Winter Bird Festival. So thank you, Chris, for letting me make that announcement.
Wow, that's amazing. Have you had any sleep yet?
2 hours, thank you.
Good. 2 hours is plenty. Who needs more than 2 hours? Okay, for everybody, just to let you know, you'll all be muted during the presentation so we don't have a bunch of random chaos here. And if you'd like to ask some questions sometime today for Cara or her guest, you can put those in the chat function and we'll get those questions to you later on. But we're excited about Cara and her guest. One other housekeeping thing is, as you know, we have canceled our in-person festival this year, which is why we're here today. And that has cost us a lot of money. We don't even know how much it's cost us because the bills haven't come in yet. So we are preemptively trying to raise a little bit of money. And while all these Zooms are free, if you'd like to make a donation, on the screen are a couple ways to do that. Bottom left-hand corner, if you want to donate with a check by mail, there's the address right there. If you want to, if you're a computer person and go online, the bottom right there, you can just click on there, find a donation link and make a donation. If you have one of those fancy schmancy phones and you know how to put that QR code into the camera, you can either donate by Venmo to the left or PayPal to the right. We've got about $8,000 or so donated so far, and we really appreciate your generosity. It's pretty incredible. And we think that will be enough to make a dent in some of those bills that are going to be coming and give us a chance to have one in person next year. So if you can be generous, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Final thing is, if you're eating a donut or if you're eating a bowl of cereal, if you could turn off your screen, because I'm really hungry and I don't want to see you doing that because it's distracting for me. and I want to have a donut like that because I haven't had a chance yet. Anyway, so now on to our program. Today's presenter is Kara Hagerdorn, and Kara's pretty amazing young lady. She got turned on to birds when she was camping as a kid in Colorado. And after she completed her degree in zoology, she worked as an environmental educator in the New York State Parks, volunteering at the Cornell Hawk Barn as a rehabilitator. And in 1997, she adopted a new friend. And that new friend was an unreleasable red-tail hawk. And I think we might hear a little bit about that this morning. Together, they have presented hundreds of programs focusing on the beauty, behavior, and value of the raptor species. And she's created a docudrama comedy about the hawk who hatched chickens. Man, if we had a redo button, I'd redo that whole line, but we don't have one of those buttons. Anyway, Kara's going to tell you all about Sunshine's mothering miracle and other things like that. So, Kara, I'm going to get off this thing and give it to you. Take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Hi, everybody. When I heard the Bird Festival was canceled, I was thinking Chris and all the organizers would be like, shoo, you know, they worked so hard to try to get it all COVID safe. And I thought they'd take a big break. But Chris put out an email that said, who wants to bring some joy and education into the world? And that's what we've been doing here through these Zoom programs. And I've learned a lot by just participating. And so it's really great to share my story today. And it's so great to see so many friends. There's some people on Zoom, like my boss of 12 years from New York State Parks is joining us, and Tony. And I've got friends from Ithaca who haven't seen Sunshine, you know, since we left when she was 5. So this is an amazing opportunity. I'm going to get her out in just a little bit, but before that, I want to give you an understanding of, really start at the beginning of why I have Sunshine. It all started with an observation and a question. And so, you know, long story short, I was dating a jazz musician who had a 16-piece big band, and he needed a very large car to carry all his equipment. So we went to look at a used station wagon, and it had California plates. We were in Ithaca, New York, and it had a bumper sticker that I noticed, and it said, "Don't shoot birds of prey." And it was UC Davis Raptor Center. And I asked the owner, Allison, of the car, I said, people shoot birds of prey? Like, I had never heard of this. And this is a question that I get from all ages, like, what is up with that? People shoot birds of prey, really? And so she said, you know, I learned about birds of prey, how to handle them at UC Davis Raptor Center in my undergraduate. Now I'm at Cornell Vet School. And if you want to help, I will mentor you. And so she got me into the Cornell Hawk Barn. And it was an interesting place because it was a partnership. Steve Schubert, in his Peregrine talk, mentioned the Peregrine Fund, and they had 3 buildings. And one of them was in Santa Cruz, one in outside of Fort Collins, and one in Ithaca, New York. And they, after they got done using it, well, they moved to Boise, Idaho. They left this building. Audubon took it over, but it was on Cornell Lab of Ornithology land. And so it was this partnership to do raptor rehab. And it was called the Hawk Barn. So I volunteered there for 5 years. And then this hawk came in. I was doing mostly release, not education. And so the first thing you do is you put them down on a x-ray table. And you can see here, this was really trashed. This part of her humerus right here. And there's shot in her leg down here, which is how we knew she was shot. And it really destroyed this elbow. And when a joint is affected in a bird of prey, it's like blowing out tissue paper. That elbow just got blown out. And after physical therapy, she was not releasable. Now in New York, at the time, you had to either place a bird within 3 months or you had to euthanize them. All the zoos were full of redtails. All the educational centers were full of redtails. And we did not want to put this bird down. So I approached my boss, Tony, who's here today. It's so awesome to see you, Tony. And said, hey, I worked for New York State Park as an environmental educator. I said, hey, will you help me get the permits, educational permits to adopt Sunshine? And we worked with the Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Parks, and they sponsored me to adopt Sunshine. And so it was, a combination of seeing a bumper sticker, asking a question, volunteering to be able to get the education to qualify for a permit, and then New York State sponsoring me. After I trained her, my husband got a job at Cal Poly in California, and we moved to the Central Coast. And I tell you, Pacific Wildlife Care, they've done a program on Zoom. Kelly did a program. They were instrumental. They're our local rehab center. They were instrumental in me getting a permit to bring her into California. So that's kind of the basics of it. And when Sunshine came in, we were able to age her. And this is a very unique thing. Usually you can't really age a bird of prey. But she came in, this is the bird everybody sees. Sorry, it's a little blurry. I'm just learning Zoom. And they have these black patagials, these black lines that lets them know they're, wait, let me get, that lets you know they're a red tail, no matter what their morph. But she had this beautiful, beautiful red tail. Now they molt that tail in at a year. So we knew she was at least a year old, but she had yellow eyes. And a lot of people might not realize that this is a picture that a friend just sent me on the front of his calendar. This bird has the juvenile tail. It's just coming out of water. It's covered with algae. It's got the juvenile tail, but it's got these yellow eyes. And Sunshine had yellow eyes that later darkened. So they darken at about 4 years old. So I guess that she was 3 years old when she was shot and came in to the rehab. And so it's pretty amazing that I can age her. So she is 28 years old. I'll just answer it right now. The number one question I get is, how long do they live? There was a male at the Hawk Barn that lived to be 30, and then he got cataracts and arthritis really bad. Online, I found one that's a male named Fred, who's 32. And Kelly mentioned in her program with Pacific Wildlife Care that she's heard they can live to be 35. So I'm just hoping for the best. I take it a day at a time with her, try to spend a lot of time with her, give her enrichment. And we'll just, see what happens there. But she is 28 years old, so she's had an amazing, amazing life. So I am going to get her out and talk a little bit about what we've been through in 25 years. And then I want to make sure that I leave time for questions. So let's see, she is in this carrier. I changed chairs, sorry about that. Okay. So this is called a giant hood. And falconers will often put a hood over their bird. They can perch him and even travel with them that way. But I use this giant hood. This is my carrying case for programs. This is how we traveled across the country. I got her out at truck stops. She's in photo albums all across the country from New York to California. Truckers were fascinated with her and her story because they see them. They're the most conspicuous bird of prey, highly adaptable to all different environments. And so, I get her out at truck stops and we do roving interpretation. And so it's just a way, again, to educate people. That's the reason I have her. That's why Fish and Wildlife let me have her. They just came and did an aviary inspection. It's highly regulated like falconry. And so I've been really, really blessed in this regard. So let's see how she's doing. Every day is different, as all, educators, falconers, raptor rehabbers know. All birds of prey have their own personality. What you doing, sunshine? What's going on? Do you see yourself in there? You might have to turn that off, but let's just see. Okay, let's step up. Step up here. Gotta wake up. Come on, step up. You ready? Step up. Step up. Oh, there we go. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So I'm going to put her down on this sawhorse. Do you not want to go down? So, and I have to move this behind me because she sees that as a safe place. You want to get down? Do you see yourself? I may have to. There we go. Thank you, honey. So this sawhorse is in her aviary, and it's a good place to start because if you have a bird of prey that can't fly, she can just hop around. She can get sores on her feet called bumblefoot, and like a bed sore, somebody that's in bed all the time. And so her aviary has all kinds of perches, and it puts different pressure on her feet. And so she, in the 25 years I've had her, has never had a foot problem, which is a huge maintenance problem with birds of prey. I also put sandpaper on her at the end of all of her perches. And then when she's done eating, she files her bill. And this way I don't have to cope her bill, trim it, catch her, trim it, which she just hates. I used to do that and it scares her to death. So she does it herself, and they will do that in the wild. You'll see them after they eat, do it on a branch, file their bill. They'll do it on a rock. And so these are some of the maintenance things. And, I'm not going to talk a lot about identification or biology or adaptations. Other people have done that in programs. I really want to focus on the fact that of what I've learned from her. This relationship of 25 years 25 years, because she's 28, has been an amazing experience. And so, when I got her, I had never, I'd done very little education. I'd never trained a redtail or trained any bird to my glove. And I have to tell you that it was very, very intimidating. This is, what I had looking at me every day. What do you think of that? And, it's kind of like what we're having to do with masks now, is that I'm looking for her mood by her mouth, by a smile, by an expression in her face. And of course, I'm getting this look of like she's going to tear my head off. Oh, good. She's so relaxed. Look at you. You gonna rouse? Not quite. Okay. So I had to get over this intimidating thing. And like we're doing with masks now, I had to learn to read her eyes. It's something that we're going through with COVID, is we miss so much by not having a mouth. So I had to learn to read her eyes and her mood because I didn't have the usual cues. And that's how we communicate with each other. It's almost become like a psychic thing for me now after all these years. Okay, so that is a great body language telling me she's totally relaxed. I had no idea if she could see herself on my television and if it would freak her out, or this big gigantic eagle here on the back, this wood carving. Sometimes when I come out and I don't think about it and I have a t-shirt on with a red tail on it, a picture of a red tail people have given me, she reacts to that. Like she gets up in aggressive behavior and sees that as a real hawk. Or when we were traveling across the country, she'd see herself in a mirror and she would attack herself. And so I had to learn to cover up all the mirrors in the hotel rooms. I have to cover up windows. If she's outside, she sees herself in the window. And so these are just kind of some things that I've, learned about her. So when I got her, she was, of course, a wild bird, and I kept her as wild as possible. I do not rarely bring her inside, only if it gets below 30 or like even less, 20 degrees, because she has arthritis. This is where she was shot. It still hurts her. Right here, this wing droop. And so, sorry, girl. So this area right here is real sore. She can't extend it, so if she goes to fly down, this wing is like this, and this is like that. And she goes down like that. And we tried to stretch that out and get some flexibility, but that elbow's just blown out. So she does have arthritis and that. So I give her a little bird ibuprofen in her food every day in the winter. And so it definitely helps her. So like this morning, for example, when I went out to her aviary, she has a big, beautiful aviary. She's got windows that look out. She can see 1/4 mile down an agricultural field on telephone poles. She's got basically views in all directions. It's covered with mosquito netting for West Niles, which killed a lot of birds in the Buffalo zoo. So I sometimes will, if it comes into the county, I do vaccinate her for that. But she was upset, like she was, what's the word, like agitated. And it's because there's this juvenile that's been hanging out on this telephone pole. And she sees that as her territory, basically. And overlooking a field that she sees as her territory. And so it's like, it was kind of like having well, actually, she wasn't threatened by it because she wasn't doing a territorial call. That's if it was an adult sitting there. She could tell that this was a juvenile redtail. And she didn't get territorial, she got annoyed. And she started hopping around and doing like almost an alarm call and letting me know, like, this juvenile is really bothering me. Now I can put up a window and block it, a wood window, but it gives her enrichment. And she was hopping around, it gives her movement. The aviary is really big, she's got perches everywhere. What are you seeing? And so, she teaches me to be observant. Oh, you're seeing yourself on your video cover, aren't you? So then Crow started mobbing it, and she watched and watched and watched until it flew away. So she teaches me, it's what John Muir Laws was talking about in his program, the 7 habits of happy birders. It's like how to be observant, to just sit and watch and see what is she looking at. She brings attention to snakes to me when she's out in the yard, lizards, gophers popping their heads up. If she turns like that, I know a turkey vulture's going over, it doesn't upset her. She just watches it, looks at it. If she turns like this, she's got better focusing cells in the top of her eye called fovea, and she'll turn her head like that. and she can see way, way, way up. There's a golden eagle flying over. And so she brings attention. Harriers go by. She brings my attention to all these things that are going on here at Sunshine Ranch that I might not ever notice. If she does a territorial call, I know it's adult redtails. They're setting up courtship right now and doing some nest building. So, that's one thing. When I got her out this morning, because it's been damp and cold, this was hurting her. And she does like a little, it's like a little, like she's scared. It's just this little chirping. And she's letting me know, like, slow down. I was putting her jesses on. These are traditional jess. She's like, slow down. Take it easy. And I put her jesses on, and she's letting me know, put me in my carrier very gently. This is sore. This hurts. So, her general personality is a very sweet bird and bright, which is why she got her name Sunshine. She just has a bright personality and calm for education. I've dealt with angry birds that somehow maybe connect getting shot with humans. I don't know, but she never made that connection. She's never been aggressive towards me, even though, she's not an imprinted bird. When she's in breeding season, we build a nest together. She does a mewing call. And it's basically like if I touch her like this, she'll go into courtship, copulatory stance, and letting me know like it's time, and she doesn't, of course, have a mate, but she does this amazing thing every year. The first spring I had her, she laid eggs. She laid eggs on Earth Day. That's the difference in the weather between Ithaca and here. When we moved here, she started watching the birds around her, the redtails around her, getting ready for nesting. And we built a nest together. She brings in sticks into her aviary, puts them on a platform, and she lays about February in California. And so, these eggs are infertile. I always have to explain that. People are like, what'd you do with the chicks? I'm like, takes two to tango here. And I don't know if she will react to this egg. Do you recognize this? My goodness, what is that? And so, the first one is brown, blotched. I don't know if I can, let me get this in focus. There we go. And, nesting bird guides will say redtails have brown blotched eggs. Well, what I know from having her is that when the cloaca opens up and she lays her first egg, she lays blood down on the egg. I've actually gotten out there almost just as she's laying the egg, or right after, and this is wet with blood. And so the first one is blotched. These have faded. I have 28 years worth of eggs, or 25 years worth of eggs. This one's faded. It should be like a blue. And then the second one is always just pale blue, has no blotches on it. She lays 2 eggs a year. They're infertile. Redtails do something called nest exchange. So she waits for me to come in and relieve her. I don't bring her food. I leave the food outside. She goes outside of her aviary and she eats. She goes to the bathroom. She takes a bath. And I have to wait for her. And so like before cell phones, I'd bring in, Harry Potter or, read. And because I couldn't leave. If I leave the aviary and I leave the nest, she will bolt back in and get back on the eggs incubating. So this created like a lot of bonding for us. And I learned like, if I take them away right away and don't let her incubate, she lays again. And because of her arthritis, that's a calcium output. And so I don't want her laying more than one clutch. But it showed me in the wild, let's say a windstorm comes and they lose their eggs, their nest, they will lay again if they feel they have enough time, in the season to do that. And so, I did this for 7 years, and then I just thought, I felt bad for her, and I thought, I should do a little experiment. I'm a zoologist, and I put chicken eggs under her. And so this is, what I show kids when I do programs. You wouldn't think that these two, would get along, because hawks eat chickens. They're actually called chicken hawks. And they'll eat young chickens. If you have free ranging chickens, you might get a redtail hanging out. But I won't give you the punchline, but I made a movie about it. And Tony is actually showing it on public TV in Ithaca, if you live in Ithaca, Channel 13. And he's got a schedule on Facebook, and I have a schedule if you want to know about that. 9 p.m. tonight, actually, for all my Ithaca friends. But it's a fascinating story, and it shows her ear, which I can't show you now, but she took a long bath. It's right behind the eye, and in the movie, it shows an ear, which most people don't even know where that's at on a bird of prey, or hawks in particular. Owls is different. It shows her brood patch. So you can get this video on it's only available on my website, hawkmother.com. And then I was approached by a publisher to turn it into a book. And this is an award-winning book. The reviews are excellent from Kirkus. It says 5 to 9-year-olds, but it's won a bunch of awards. But I think it's great for all ages, and it will teach you about birds of prey, or hawks in particular, redtails in particular, and this amazing interspecies story. I don't know. It's just, it's a great book. And my publisher, if you go to weboflifebooks.com, she's got a full lesson plan. If you have kids or grandkids or a teacher, she put on full lesson plans to go with the book, where kids can fill out a crossword puzzle and identify parts of a bird. So it's just super fun. It's available from Google or my website. So that experience of laying eggs, hey, what are you doing? You want to look at the camera? That experience really bonded us. And before that, I had to do training. And so I got her to come up onto the glove. And it's different than falconry. Chris trains his birds. Chris Cameron, who did a program on falconry, he trains his bird a little differently. I used what's called operant conditioning, and I would present food. And it's like, 30 below in Ithaca, and out in her aviary. This, when she was young, she could handle cold like that. And I have food here on my glove. I get frozen rats and quail and Dale chicks, unthaw them out the night before, put them in hot water the morning of, warm them up for her, rehydrate them because they get their water from their food. And I would present it. And I would ask her to come up onto the glove. You want to come up? Step up, Sunshine. Are you out of practice because of COVID? Step up. Come on. Do I need to help you? Here, step up. There you go. And then what happened is she got this used to be in a perch. And that was a huge part of the training. And I did that for 7 months before she let me touch her. Falconers dust their birds down and they start working with them right away. I wanted this to be a different kind of relationship. And so every time I would go to touch her, she would move away. And I allowed her to do that. And then a dog trainer said, hey, take a feather that she's used to. And I had a feather here, but she let me start doing this, right? And she got used to my hand movement because she was so afraid of my hands. She was afraid I was going to grab him. And so she got used to this motion of something she was comfortable with. And the reason I had to be able to touch her is because I need to check her weight. You know, some rehabbers and falconers, they get their bird to step up onto a scale because weighing them is really, really important. But she never liked that. To this day, it's really hard for me to get her on a scale. And so what I do is I had to be able to touch her to go up under here and feel the keel like a chicken has. I can feel how fat she is. And she is an excellent weight right now. But if that keel was really sharp, I would know that she's losing weight. I would deworm her you know, look at it as something that I need to deal with. So feeling her weight is very important. So at 7 months, she finally let me touch her. And then we were ready to do programs. I also have to, you want to step back on there? You got to come over here. Huh? Sorry. Let's get you back in the camera. There. And there. Show them your beautiful tail. So you can see that wing droop. And, you know, in some birds, that's a management problem. They step on it. And those birds, you know, are usually euthanized. Oh, really? Show them the whole deal. Wow. So that means she's a little nervous. Okay. You got to see her cloaca there. And so checking out her mutes are called, making sure there's not blood in them. That would be a problem, making sure they're healthy. And then pellets. Do you want to turn back around? I don't want you to fly or jump. Oh yes, I will stop right after this for questions. So, you know, a lot of people know that they cast pellets, they're called, or castings. And like, so, you know, you learn a lot. Like I found this in my barn the other day. This is a huge pellet, great horned owl, okay? Brown, eating my gophers, yay, okay? Also have a barn owl in there, much smaller, okay? Now we've got also eating my gophers and mice, yay. All right, so those are, you know, natural pellets with bones in them because it's an owl. Okay, so she casts something like this. It's white because I feed her white rats. This one had a little gray in it. And I want to make sure that that's a clean pellet. I want to make sure she's casting a pellet every single day for her health. Break it open, make sure there's no blood in it, you know, or anything weird. So those are like the maintenance things about having a red-tailed hawk and just our relationship. And when we're doing nesting, she does territorial screams. She preens constantly. She loses every feather on her body every year, all kinds of feathers. That teaches me a lot about her health also, and not in focus. So, yeah, so I'm going to open it up to questions because I could go on a 25-year relationship. I could go on and on. But yeah, let's see what any questions you guys have.
Okay, I'll be looking in the chat to see if you've got questions. So right now, if you would like to have a question, if you have a question for Kara, just write it in the comment box right here. And I have a question, being a hawk guy. I would like to know what your bird is weighing right now.
Yeah, so she weighs about 1,700 grams and or 3 pounds. I always kind of guess. I weigh her once a year. Allison, who I
Once a year?
Yeah, because I do it by feel, Chris. She just does not like to get on a scale. So Allison, who I mentioned, who had the car with the bumper sticker, "Don't shoot birds of prey," she became a longtime friend and mentor, and she is Sunshine's vet. And she comes every year with her son, August, to the Bird Festival. And of course, they didn't come this year, but she gives Sunshine an annual physical. And that's when we weigh her, or if I have to take her to a vet. But otherwise, I weigh her by feeling her keel. I can tell if she's dropping in weight immediately.
I love chatting with Allison. She's a riot, that one.
She is.
Okay, so Megan wants to know, let's see, Megan wants to know, why does Sunshine lose all her feathers each year? That seems crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so all birds molt. And so I would love to I should Google how many feathers Sunshine has, thousands of feathers. And she drops every single one. Now, turkey, for example, a wild turkey, they lose all their feathers at once. It's called a catastrophic molt. They lose all their flight feathers at once. And that's because they're eating acorns off the ground. And they just kind of lay low until those new feathers molt in, which can take a couple of weeks. They come out in a sheet. Sunshine still has a feather in a sheet that usually Allison and I, this time of year, if she still has feathers in the sheet, we would pick that off. But because of her injury, sometimes she has a hard time, but it's in blood, it's growing out, it's a live thing. And then that's why they're preening all the time. She plucks that keratin off of that feather and that feather opens up. Now with the redtail, with the hawk, she's got to be flying all the time. She can't lose her ability to fly. So the first thing she molts is she drops out a tail feather on each side. And then those grow in, and then she just drops them all the way in until there's one left. In fact, I have a picture of that on the other side of my x-ray, wherever that is. But okay, yeah. So yes, they do that. Here she is laying in the sun. You can see she's got one still coming in. She loves to bathe during that time because it softens the keratin for her to get. And they do that because they get worn in the wild. Their feathers get totally worn and they need to molt out a beautiful new coat.
Great. We have about 5 more minutes and about 5 more questions. So you ready for the rapid fire? These are fast questions. Do you take Sunshines to schools? And if so, how do you arrange that? I kind of retired Sunshine, and with Fish and Wildlife, I am now on what's called an exhibitor's permit instead of an education permit. And so I'm not allowed to take her off the property, but I can have school groups legally come to my ranch, Sunshine Ranch, which is how I do the bird festival. And so you can, if you're local, you can contact me and through my website, hawkmother.com, and we can arrange that. Or right now during COVID, I can do it this way through Zoom. So contact me through hawkmother.com. That'd be great. Perfect. If you want a hawk to come to your classroom, you can call Camp Ocean Pines. They'll bring a hawk to your classroom, or a zoo to you in Paso Robles. They'll bring a hawk to your classroom. If you go on vacation, what do you do with your bird? Does somebody else come and watch it, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's great. And that has come up. My husband and I have traveled all over the world, and we've been lucky enough to have these great house sitters, and they know Sunshine intimately, and they're able to deal with rats. You have to deal with that. And so, yes, we have house sitters and they take care of her.
Speaking of rats, where in the world do you get her food? You mentioned day-old chicks, frozen rats, and stuff like that. I just don't have those in my, well, actually, I do have those in my freezer. Most people don't have those in their freezer. Where do you get that? Yeah,
so I used to get it from a place called Lane's Lab. Now I get it a place called rodentpro.com. Mm-hmm. And they are a website that that grow mice humanely, rats humanely, and kill them humanely, basically through asphyxiation, no poisons or gas or anything like that, for falconers and raptor people and people with snakes. And so I just go on their website and get enough. I have a separate freezer now. I used to keep them in my freezer, and my husband was like, "We need to go to get a pizza." So I have a separate.
My wife has had the same issue. I guess you have to have really understanding partners when you're in this business. Hey, somebody said there's something about blood in their feathers. What is this blood in their feathers situation? When they're growing in a new feather and there's blood, what's that about?
Yeah. So, for this, I often during my program will show a wild turkey that was hit by a car. And they're not under the Migratory Species Act because they're hunted. So I could collect that turkey, and it had feathers and blood, so I could show people. But basically what it is the feather is in a quill, right? So I'll just grab a feather here. So now I'll feather from my barn owl. So this quill pokes out of the bone, it's being fed blood, and it basically is in this sheath. Now this part is full of blood. That's what it means when a bird is in blood. This quill is full of blood. And I tell you, that's the scariest situation I've ever had with Sunshine, and the most pain she's been in. I know if she's in extreme pain because it's a whimpering, like a baby crying. She had what's called a feather and blood. So this quill is full of blood, and she jumped down, and the weight of feathers and blood, she wasn't predicting that. And she hit the ground, and this quill broke off, kind of like this one. Like I found this in my barn. I knew this bird was in a little bit of trouble because then it drips. So I always tell my animal care people, look for blood, any drips of blood when she's molting, and they can bleed to death. So that's feathers and blood.
Thank you very much. Google can answer a lot of those questions that we don't have time for because we have to run. We got another presenter coming up in about 10 minutes. So we gotta get out of here. So just a quick reminder, the next one up is Jessica Griffiths on birding by ear. Then we have Steve Schubert on condors. Don Mirlaz is going to do a doubleheader on sketching. And then we have some tracking today by Heather Hayes. That'll be really cool. I'm looking forward to that one. And we're going to end out the day with Claudia on shorebirds. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Donate if you can. Here's how this works. If you're new here, we are going to close this room down because we've got to ditch everybody and restart. So if you want to come back in about 10 minutes. But lastly, I just want to say, Kara, thank you so much for bringing your pal here and sharing Sunshine's story with us. Look forward to seeing you guys in person next year. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you in about 10 minutes, top of the hour. Okay, Jessica and Birding by Ear in 10 minutes. Bye-bye.